Libby and the pardon, and this is another parallel. Libby really was covering up for a bungled break-in into the embassy of Niger, one of the poorest nations in the world. It's not like somebody broke into the French embassy so that they could steal stationery and get an official stamp to get them invited to the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, this was a break-in into one of the poorest nations on the earth, and we were supposed to, no one believed that Saddam Hussein would actually sign a receipt, which is what this document was, saying, yes, I would like to engage in an illegal transaction of 400 tons of uranium ore from Niger to my country. Here's my signature. It was a botched, stupid break-in that produced a bad forgery that was laughed off by the CIA and the State Department. But apparently all of this that led to Libby's conviction was his lying to cover up this ridiculous notion that there was a transfer of uranium and to get back and smear the person who said, wait a minute, I'm telling you, this was a stupid forgery.
Well, that's a good question of how involved the Vice President's office has been in covert operations. I don't know that that's directly involved here. It's certainly not implausible or impossible. I'm told, in fact, someone told me that Cy Hirsch did a good piece on this recently that said that they've somewhat become operational in the Vice President's office, not unlike what happened during Iran-Contra, which is an interesting concept. Cheney was, of course, in the House during the Iran-Contra investigation and was one who believed that everything Reagan did and Ollie North did and everybody else did was just fine. That he criticized the Congress for even trying to investigate it. But anyway, I don't know where I was talking to a well-known New York Times reporter today, and she was saying that her reading on the Hill is that they're probably not going to investigate into what's behind the Libby trial. She said, while Schumer has made some noises to that effect, it apparently is not really getting much consideration on the Hill, which surprises me.
Well, listen, this is what I just heard today. Chairman Waxman at the Government Oversight Committee.
Right.
He's
my congressman.
Is he? Good guy. I mean,
yeah.
This guy is amazing. He is having a hearing on whether White House officials followed appropriate procedures for safeguarding the identity. This is right off his website today, of CIA agent Valerie Plame Wilson. She is now scheduled to testify in front of his committee. And in addition, today, his committee sent a letter to Special Prosecutor Patrick Fitzgerald commending him for the investigation and requesting a meeting to discuss his testimony before the committee.
Great.
Yeah. So
you're cutting edge, Randy. You're way ahead of the New York Times.
Well, I know. Isn't that a shame? But honestly, let me just say that these are the things, you lay them out side by side. And it's just like Watergate in its investigatory, in the avenues that it's pursuing.
Well, if you're probably too young to remember.
I am.
But Watergate took a long time to develop. The first year, it went on for years before the public really got their attention. And
this is my point to the audience. I was explaining that to them, that Nixon had just started his second term when Watergate became a point to investigate, when the whole thing became... And, it took, 2-3 years?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking if we start now, it would actually... You could end up with articles of impeachment in about a year and a half if they actually have, a lot of the groundwork laid and they take testimony fairly quickly. But then, you've got to go through the whole impeachment process and then the Senate trial and,
I wrote a column some weeks ago at my Fine Law column, my biweekly.
I read it.
On that they should take the focus off of Bush and Cheney, which is not going to happen. They're not going to impeach them, but they should look at lower-level people who are the kind of people who, if they indeed were ever impeached, one of the sanctions on impeachment, and it only takes a majority vote for this, is to bar that person from ever holding office again.
Yeah, which would have been good for Elliot Abrams, But honestly, Gonzalez, Rice, obviously they have raised their hands and given sworn testimony, and they've not been truthful. So, these are good places to start. And, it's hard to explain to an audience why it's so difficult to impeach a president and a vice president when they know that Clinton was impeached for something so trivial. It's
the reason. One of the basic reasons impeachment is so difficult is there is actually no machinery within the House of Representatives where any bill of impeachment must begin to do any kind of investigation. If you look at all the impeachments, barring going back to, say, Andrew Johnson, they've all been, the Nixon impeachment, the Clinton impeachment, all had special prosecutors attached who did the heavy investigative lifting, or in the instance with Watergate also, you had the Senate doing some of it. And this is the material that was relied on without any independent investigation by the House. The House has zero. I've never understood why they don't set up a nonpartisan, independent investigative body that's capable of handling impeachments on their own. They have.
Well, as soon as the Republicans got in control, they did away with the independent the independent counsel statute.
Well, it expired,
and they didn't want it back. And obviously, this is one of
neither the Democrats didn't want it back either. It had sufficiently gored everybody that no one wanted it.
Well, I want it. I want it. Do you think, just yes or no, or do you think we owe it to history to try to get rid of this crowd in Washington?
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Okay, I get it. Listen, keep writing. I will keep reading. I look to you for guidance on this, like you, because I am too young.
All right.
Thanks, John Dean.
Bye, Randy.
Bye. He's living history. I mean, he went through the whole thing. In fact, they tried to blame him as being the guy who ordered the whole break-in, and it turned out he was the key witness. He was the star witness. 51 after.
Wow. The Randi Rhodes Show, pledging never to trade nuclear bombs for tropical fruit.
The United States is looking forward to eating Indian mangoes.
This is Air America Radio.